Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. I want to share a few more thoughts on Margie Zacharias. And I want to ask the question, is she being unfairly condemned by society, ministry, for her husband's sin? Now, before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. As you know, Margie, who married the late apologist Rabbi Zacharias, she married him in 1959. So they had been married now close to 60 years. All right, actually 61 years. I know that because I was born in 1959. Okay, so, so I was kind of reading the story again, and kind of detail leapt out at me that I probably didn't deal with before, and that is the ministry, Rabbi Zacharias' ministry, asked her to move out of the home, and she had claimed that they had promised this home for her should he died. So the question is, why are they asking her to move? Why is the ministry? I'm even wondering too, why is the ministry even vibrant at this point? And see, that becomes a good question. Now I'm going to say I can't really answer that because I'm not in the boardrooms, right? Typically, however, when you have men, great men, who have passed away, and pretty much all of them in the modern era, okay, that have especially been, who have merchandised and selling their books and tapes, sermons, things like that, Bibles, books, I said books already, but Bibles, things like that, that after their death, right, they even sell more. Okay, they sell more. When you think about just great artists, for example, Michael Jackson, upon his death, exploded in sales, his records and things like that. And he had an extensive record collection. The late artist Prince, I think, again, is even now selling their albums. Okay. Even in the ministry, you have like J. Vernon McGee, one of my favorite Bible teachers, of course, because I'm a passionate through the Bible, verse by verse teaching. He is still selling. His programs are still being aired. And you could probably ask a separate question: that should the dead be left dead, or should we go on? And the question comes down to this: should we go on merchandising their stuff? And then the question comes into, why are we merchandising them? See, and it comes down to money, right? So we kind of come back to this question of Margie, the wife. And of course, she addressed an email that got out, which I don't know why she would make the email that got out, of her late husband. And basically she said she found absolutely no evidence of his sexual accusations, which is astounding. None. And she based that on her going through his things, going through his luggage, going through letters that she found, and everything when he had came home. That's what she went through. She also claimed that he never called out another woman's name during his sleep. And again, if you're looking at the other side, the accuser's side, or let's say a psychologist's side, they could say, well, that's kind of an easy one. He was very careful. In other words, I think about another celebrity, famous celebrity. They had homes spread out through the country. In the LA home, the wife pretty much live. They had homes in Philadelphia, homes in New York. This particular celebrity went to jail. A lot of the shenanigans were in the Philadelphia home and some in the New York home. Now, it would be easy for the wife to say, I've never seen any of that stuff. Why? Because dude didn't clown in the LA home. At one point, they're saying that Ravi traveled almost like 256 days. That's more on the road than he was home. Now, in and of itself, that's not to say that he was guilty. But here's the point. When you look at the evidence that now has come out, and my point is, these people have come out and said, here is some pretty hard evidence. Photos, emails. At some point there were like 200 pictures on his phone. Right? On his phone. I have a phone. No pictures, okay? No one has sent me pictures. And of course, I'm not a big star or anything like that. I'm not a big ministry. I don't get that many views on my own YouTube channels and all that. So I'm not, here's my point. I'm not soliciting for them either. And they were saying he was soliciting some. And all of these were women in their 20s. So with this kind of evidence, and this is more than just a Me Too kind of scenario. In the Me Too scenario, you have people being accused of touching shoulders, and coming to the more extreme is that he looked at me funny and I felt. But we're not talking about that. This is some hard evidence that she is not refuting. That's my point. There was an independent investigation done, and they said, this is what we found. This is the evidence we found. And we kind of find out that this man was not a good man. That, if this evidence holds up. Now, her point is, when he came home, he was Father of the Year, Husband of the Year. But I would want to remind her of something. So was Al Capone. So was these gangsters. They were great family men. They were loving fathers when they were home. So the fact that you could have a dual life, the fact that you would not bring your mess home, and I think one of the problems then that she has, and I'm going to ask the question again, is she being unfairly condemned? And I'm going to say that's a yes and a no answer. The yes in that, okay, yeah, she's being maybe condemned because of association with her husband. But the problem is this, and this is the question. She kind of answers this, and whether we can prove this or not. Did you know that your husband had even inclinations to these kinds of sins? Did you know this? Did you take part of it? Okay, in a sense, her denial, her email is kind of the denial of those questions. And of course, unless someone else come back and says, well, yes, she knows. For example, in the Bernie Madoff case, where this guy, embezzled some $60 billion from people. And his wife, at one point, did all the books, but she claimed, I didn't know anything. So in their case, you have some evidence to show, okay, she deserves some condemnation. It seems like with Margie, at best, she's just denying even her own reality. That as long as I don't, her thing is, as long as I don't look that way, I'm not going to see the reality. Self-denial, self-delusion. I don't know if her children believe that, but now after his death, address the truth. And if you really want to say, as a Christian, I would think, I would exhort and I would challenge. Look at the evidence and say, let's go point by point and say why this is not true. Is this his phone? How did these pictures get on there? See, it's particular things like that. Now, again, with a major case like this, there are people who have some problems. accusers have some problems. One of the accusers attempted to blackmail. In other words, you sexually abused me, but pay me some money, which makes her case lessens the credibility of it, but does it lessen the truth that they did have some kind of sexual twist? But what about the others? And here, what I'm going to say is, I'm not making a judgment on this because, again, I don't have enough information. But I would say, if you don't want to be condemned, then you start off with, let's start with the truth. Don't start off with, I find no evidence. And this is the problem with Margie's statement. I find no evidence. No evidence of a crime. Really? You find none. And the reason she gives is so shabby. Because I went through his things. Of course, he's not going to bring all of the... Let me keep it clean. He's not going to bring all the evidence of his sexual misdeeds home. You may not find no blue dress, and those of you that know the reference of the blue dress was when Bill Clinton, his sexual singe came out when Monica Lewinsky kept the blue dress, which had his semen on it. Evidence, okay, evidence. And at first he was denying it until the blue dress. Okay, maybe there was no blue dress evidence like that. Maybe he was careful when he came home. Think about it. This dude owned spas. And again, in and of itself, those are not incriminating. But when you put the other evidence, he was gone a lot. So my point is here, I'm just kind of curious as to her denial. Now to the other thing is, how should we condemn her for that? And I'm going to say no, I shouldn't. I'm not going to say we should not condemn her at all. I pray for her because I do feel sorry for her because, yeah, she's the victim of all this. The family's the victim. And in this case, the sins of the father are unjustly could be, visited on the family, on the children. That is true. That could be. Unless it's proven they did take part in a cover-up. Did they know? We don't have to go there at this point. But it's a good question. And it's a valid question because Margie came out and said, and went out of her way to deny. She came out and said, I'm denying this. There's no evidence. And in doing that, you put yourself now in the crossfire, in the sights to say, okay, what part do you have? And why? The other question is, should the ministry have kicked her out of her house? Now that's a tricky one, see, because what happens a lot of times with these ministries, you have boards who control the assets, and it always comes down to the assets. You can look at churches all across this country where the pastors have died, or the pastors have got caught in these same kind of situations. However, they are alive, but yet the boards come in to protect assets. That's it. And that's kind of unfortunate. I don't know what Margie Zacharias Ministries is doing right now in the sense of what is the lifeline they're trying to keep resurrected, because Margie was the ministry. So again, this is still kind of an ongoing situation here, and a sad one at that, a very sad one. All right, guys, look, that is my perspective. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Till next time, I'll see you then.